Hello, good day. So today we're going to continue with our web development course, which is now going to talk about CSS. So let's dive into our presentation. So let's define first what is a CSS. So according to this presentation that I have right now, so CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and it is a language for describing the presentation of web pages, including colors, layout, and fonts. So thus making our web pages presentable to the user. CSS also is designed to make style sheet for the web. So it is independent of HTML and can be used with any XML based markup language. Now let's try to break the acronym. So CSS, or cascading style sheet. Let's talk about what is cascading. So when we say cascading, it's a falling of styles. And when we talk about styles, these are adding designs or styling our HTML tags. And sheets is a writing our style in a different document. So to sum it up, CSS is a document that is separated from HTML, wherein it is responsible to the design or appearance of an HTML tags, or for specific HTML tags or elements that we have. So let's go to the history of CSS. So it has been proposed by Hakun Wem on the 10th of October, that's in 1994. And on the 1996, CSS was published on the 17th of November with influencer Bert Boss, which later became co-author of CSS. And the same year, the CSS became unofficial when CSS was published when CSS was published in December of 1996. And on 1997, they created the CSS2, which is on the 4th of November, and it was published on 12th of May on 1998. So there is a 1 year gap. And on 1999, the earliest CSS3 draft were published. So as of now, the current and the latest CSS version that we have is CSS3. Okay. So where can we write CSS? So some of the popular editors that are best suited to wire CSS code are as follow. So we could write it with using Atom. It's an editor. We could also use the Visual Studio, which I'm using right now. And then you can use Bracket, Espresso for those who are using Mac OS. And we can also, for Windows, is a Notepad++. It's like a Notepad, but with upgraded a little bit with some kind of color and numbering on the lines. And then we also have the Komodo Edit and Sublime Text. So if you're going to ask me, sir, what is the best CSS editor or HTML editor that you can suggest? Well, for me, since I actually used Atom before, and even Visual Studio Code is the one that I'm currently using right now. So Sublime Text is also good, but I think this has to be licensed first. Yes, I think you need a license with Sublime Text, but Visual Studio Code is totally free. So if I were you, if you would like to download and use an editor, a powerful editor, then I'll will pick Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let's talk about the syntax in CSS. So in CSS, we have selectors. Okay, so selector, and then inside the curly braces, we have properties and values. So these properties are will be um like, for example, we would like to change the background color of a certain element in HTML. So you would call the background color, and then the value would be the color that you'd like to use. So it can be a ready-made color, or you can use hexadecimal and so on. But we're going to talk about more about colors later. So here is an example. So selector. The selector that we're going to use here is a heading. So this is H1. So the color would be red and the alignment of text is center. So this is how you write it in into action. Okay. We do also have here the definition of each of those parts of the CSS syntax. So when we talk about selectors, it basically selects the element you want to target. So always remain the same whether we apply internal or external styling. Yeah, so we could actually write CSS in either internal or external styling. So I'll show you what is internal and external styling later on. So there are a few basics selectors like tags, IDs, classes. So all forms this in key value pair. Kung if you're not familiar with a key value pair, we're going to go back. So we have property and value. So this is the key and this is the value. Okay. So yeah, keys are properties or attributes like color, font size, background, width, and height, etc. And values are values associated with these properties. Let's say, for example, for font size, you'd like to have 18 pixels or 18 pt, then yeah, so then you can use that. Okay, so here is a way you could also write your CSS aside from making it line by line. But the best way to actually write a CSS is line by line. So again, so we're using here a H1 as selector. So this is a element tag, or it's an element of an HTML, which is a heading. And we have color. Color is the property and blue is the value. Another declaration that we have is here is the font size. So font size with using 12px. And to separate them, to separate the two declarations, you always have to end it with semicolon. Okay. So that it will not create error, and also the interpretation will be uh will not cause you error or something. Okay, let's talk about what's comment. So it is important also that we put comments on CSS, especially if you're working with groups or different developers. So comments do not actually render on the browser, but it also helps to understand our code better and make it readable. This also helps to debug our code. So there are two ways to actually comment CSS. We have the single line and a multi-line. So it shows there how to use single line. So with regards to single line comment, you would start it with the backslash and then uh, asterisk, and then end it with asterisk, backslash, and slash. Okay, so that's how you do it. So single line siya because well, basically this is where the part where you put your definition or your comment. Okay, when it comes to multi-line, um it's basically the same. However, you're just gonna put the ending of the comment before the end of your comment. Let's say multi-line to. So you basically says, okay, this is the part where uh blah 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 blah, and you have multiple lines used for comments. Then you put that on the end of your comments so that it would specify us that, okay, so this is the comment. Yeah, anyway, it will not show on the code or on the browser. Okay, so ways to write CSS. So there are multiple ways to write CSS. So in this matter, we have inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. I'll show you the examples later. But let's get to know the priority order in terms of these ways of writing CSS in our HTML file. Inline is the priority, and next to that is internal, and then external. Okay, so yeah, so let's get to know what are these three ways to write CSS on our HTML. Okay, so here is an inline CSS. So before CSS, this was the only way to apply style. So way back before, nung wala pa lang CSS and we don't have this separate files for CSS, this is how developers actually put styling. So ito yung primitive, kumbaga. So not an efficient way to write. Ito yung mga drawbacks niya. So it's not an efficient way to write as it has a lot of redundancy, and it also self-contained. And it will only apply to uniquely applied on each element. So let's say redundant siya kasi especially when you already written this kind of styling to a certain elements, then kailangan mo ulit siya i-rewrite for other elements na same lang naman yung magiging effect niya. So yeah, so that's the drawback of using inline. However, this is the priority in terms of how we are going to, or how the browser will interpret your CSS code. And another thing is the idea of separation of concern was lost. So we're going to talk about when we talk about separation of concerns, um since we have in front development, um the the things that you need to separate are the codes, especially in terms of HTML. We wanted only to see pure HTML, and we don't see anything that will basically um, confuse us of other codes. So pag sinabi nating separation of concern, kung CSS styling lang, CSS styling lang, wag tayong maghahalo ng HTML sa CSS. But ganun din sa HTML. If you wanted to have HTML codes only, let us have only HTML codes on that file. So wag nating i-mix. And if it's about JavaScript, we don't put JavaScripts on HTML. Although pwede, no? We can do that. But the problem is, with the idea of separation of concern, nawawala yung ganong concepts. So, ayun. So, that's the reason why we separate files depending on their uses. So, here is an example of an inline CSS. I believe I already shown this before, but here is one or two examples of an inline CSS. So let's say we have this H3, a heading 3, and then we wanted to change the color of this H3. Okay, so what we do is H3, and then inside the first or on the beginning tag of H3, we are going to type or the attribute style, and then inside that style we have a double quote, and then we're going to put there what is the property you'd like to add on this H3 tag. So we wanted to change the color the text color into red. Okay, on the other tag that we have here, which is the paragraph tag, we put color green. So with the text inside this, which is I did this and I did that. So let's say, okay, let me just show you how this will work on web browser. So let's go to our coding. Okay, here. So I have template. I have a folder here called CSS template, and I created on the background the index.html. Okay, so now we're going to apply this is what we call inline CSS. Here, I'm gonna have first, okay, so sa loob siya ng body. So, I will be putting here CSS3. I'm CS3. H3, I mean. I'm sorry. And then what I'm going to put there is have a great day. Okay, so lagay natin yung have a great day. So save natin. So if we're gonna look at the result of this, ito yung magiging tsura niya. So have a great day. So wala pa siyang kulay. Now we're going to apply the color. We're going to apply the color to our CSS. So here we're gonna put style equal to color. Tapos I think it's red now. So let's save that. Okay, now that we have that, let's go to our result. Oops. Okay, let me just double check what happened. Okay, so let me go back there. So have a great day. So gumawa tayo ng HT na may have a great day on this um, website. Oh no, not website, but web page. Now we're going to put the second one, the paragraph. So the paragraph says, I wanted to have, okay, so P, then ano yung nakalagay doon? So I did this, I did that. So tingnan natin, I did this, I did that. So ganun din. So we'll type here style, and then I wanted to have, save natin. Then let's go to our yeah. So that's this is what we have for this coding. So yun, yung first na example. Now let's go back to our presentation. So with our presentation, we'd like to have the second one, which is the internal CSS. Okay, so what's internal CSS? So with the help of style tag, we can apply styles within the HTML file. So redundancy is removed. That's one good thing. And then the idea of separation of concern is still lost. So may problema pa din siya in terms of separation of concern because it's still within the HTML. So hindi pa siya nasa-separate from the HTML itself. Okay. However, it also uniquely applies to a single document. So although the redundancy is already removed, but the problem here is kung saan mo lang siya nilagay na documents, doon lang siya applicable. Okay. So just like in this example that I'll be showing. Okay. So let's use this index.html as an example. So buburahin ko lang tong h3 and tong p tag and I will be rewriting them, or no, I'll just delete the parts, itong style and so on and so forth. And then gagawin natin siyang internal CSS. So we're just going to convert that. Okay. So I'll be deleting this part. Ayan. So kung babalikan natin yan, ang itsura na naman yan sa ating browser ay back to its um, normal state. Sabihin na natin normal state. And then, let's apply the coding. So here on the top, Actually, kahit saan naman, we can even actually put it on inside the body tag. Pero let's just separate it from the body tag. I'll just put it on the on the head tag. So you're just going to type in style, and then ayan. And then ano ba yung lalagyan natin ng style? So we're going to style the H3. So ganun din, gagawin natin is I'm going to change the color to red. Maglagay tayo ng other properties. I wanted to have font family of around siguro si Lucida Sans, Lucida, ayan, so on and so forth. Okay, now that you have that, let's also have font size. Siguro mga, we can use 20px for this or probably 30px to save natin. And then another one is we have the p tag. So your p tag is we have color green, and then what we're going to also be doing is change the font family or yung font niya. We can use Arial, Helvetica, or sans serifs. And what is the font size? Let's use maybe like 18 pixels. 18 pixels. Okay, so save natin yan. And then let's try to check it on our browser. So the browser looks like this now. So again, so if you're going to look back at the coding, it's almost the same dun sa kanina, just that we just added the font family and font size on both elements for H3 and P tag. So this is selectors. H3 is selector, and this is the property, and this is the value. Okay, property and values. Then this is also another property of H3, and then values. So since H3 holds text, so malamang sa malamang meron siyang font size. And also another here is we have the P or the paragraph. So we also change the color of the text of the paragraph ng green, and then we change it the font family siya because if ever wala si Arial, hindi available doon sa web browser na yon, we will use Helvetica. At if absent si Helvetica, hindi siya naka-install sa computer na yon or whatever, magkakaroon tayo ng sans serifs. Okay. Then our font size is 18 pixels. So that's fixed na 18 pixels. So that's how you use internal styling. Internal siya because nasa loob siya ng HTML. Okay, so I hope you're getting the point of the difference of the inline and internal CSS. So let's say we also dito na tayo no. So kanina we have an example wherein isa lang na H3. So why not let's create another H3. This time we're going to do this is another H3 tag. Okay. So ayan. So what we expect is that kung ano yung property na na-apply sa lahat ng H3 ay ma-apply sa lahat ng H3. So kung ano yung makikita mo dito sa H3 ng merong text na have a great day will also apply on the H3 dito sa baba ng paragraph, which is this is another H3 tag. So let's try to look at the result. So the result here is have a great day. I did it. Yan. So this one and this one has the same configuration or styling ng kanilang text. Yeah. So I hope you're following. So that's the second way of writing the CSS. Okay, so let's move on to the next. We have the external CSS. So what is an external CSS? So para magamit natin yon, so we need the help of the link. So this is a tag also which we put on the head tag of HTML. So we can apply style, And then you could use the reference is added, and the file that we use for external CSS has an extension of that CSS. And great here is redundancy is removed and the idea of separation of concern is maintained, and it is uniquely applied to each document. So ang maganda dito, if you have more than um more than one HTML and you wanted to like inherit the stylings from the other HTML, possible na siya dito basta as long as the CSS is linked to the HTML. So let me show you what it exactly does. Okay, so balik tayo doon sa ating coding. So here, okay, so gagawa ako ng additional HTML para lang makita nyo. So here, I'm going to create a new file. I will call it index2 na lang. Or sige, home, no, sorry. Index2.html. Okay. So, and then another file is I'm going to use my style. This is the name of my CSS.css. Ayan. So, nasa iisang directory sila under CSS template. Okay. So, let's go first with the index HTML. Then, let's write code. Gawin natin tong ano ba? Let's say dashboard. Here, what do we have? So, let's say I wanted to have tatlong options. Sabihin natin drinks, no? So, let's say we have drinks over here. I'm gonna use H4. So, drinks options. And then here, I'm gonna use H5. And then, say, coffee. Tea and juice. Ayan. So, if we're gonna look at this, save lang natin, i-run natin. So, it looks like this one. So, yan. So, ganito yung itsura niya. So, okay, the title is dashboard. So, we have drink options. We have coffee, tea, and juice. Okay, now we're going to use I wanted to make it maybe brown in color and then also change the color of the text. And then the font style as well, or font family, and then the size, and as well as this one dito sa coffee, tea, and juice. Okay, so let's go back to our coding. So yan. So meron na tayo ditong MySQL, although wala pa siyang karga. So, ang gagawin natin, unang-unang gagawin natin is i-link muna natin. So, how are we going to link? Just type in link if you're using Visual Studio Code. Mas mabilis siyang hanapin. So, just look for link and then colon CSS. And then, it will give you this template or boilerplate. So, hindi mo na kailangan palitan ito. So, tama yan. So, dito na lang tayo. If you don't have a name which is style.css, hanapin mo yung pangalan ng CSS mo. If it's the same directory kung nasaan yung file na index.2, wag ka na maglagay ng backslash or something. Okay, so let's put it here, my style. Okay, yan. Now that we have here, let's go to this my style, and I wanted to change the H4. So H4 color will become brown. and I wanted the font family to, let's say, I want Helvetica and something like that. Font style. Yeah, we could actually do font style. I'd like it to make it, ano ba? Could we move? Yeah, we can make it italic. Ayan. So, since H4 is still text, we have font style available um for this properties. Okay, ano pa ba? So, I want also to change the size. So, my size will become probably 35 px. Save natin. And then let's see what will happen to the H4. So, yung H4 natin is kanina, nakita niyo naman yung result niya. Now, the result becomes like this. So, it's italic and the color of the drinks option text is now brown. Now, we're going to look or do something on this coffee, tea, and juice. I wanted them to have a different style or family font, and then also the size will be a bit smaller than this option. So let's go to our coding. Um, yeah, let's go back here. So okay, so we use H5 then no. So we're gonna use H5. Then the color would be no, sorry. It's font color is okay, you can have or you can choose from here. I wanted something like this one, the dark orchid. And then I'd also love to add font family na probably birthday na Geneva Tahoma or sans serif. And the font weight, I'd like to use font weight into siguro bold para thicker siya. And then the font size, if we have a font size of 35px sa H4, I want it to be a little bit smaller. Siguro let's use 30px instead. Okay, so there will be no font styling that will be added here. But yeah, so let's try to check. Okay, so as you will see here, the result becomes like this. So the problem here is masyado silang malalayo. So we can actually do some changes on that. We can do is you can create a universal selector. So yung iset lang natin siya. So all. Tapos I wanted the padding. The padding is, I'll show you what's padding later on. And then margin also 0. Pretty much that's what I wanted to see. Ayan. So if we're going back now to the code, I'm sorry. So this is the code, by the way. So I added the asterisk, and then meaning this is the universal element, and then I add padding 0 and margin 0. So para mawala lahat ng current current styling ng ating mga elements. So yeah, so basically this is the result that we have. So drinks option, coffee, tea, and juice. Okay, so that's pretty much how we basically use HTML, or I mean CSS to other HTML. We can even use that doon sa una nating ginawa. So punta tayo dun sa index HTML. So go tayo dito, and then we can link that. So link, so I'm gonna use CSS and then my style. So save natin. Let's see if merong nangyari. But before that, I'll add, sige, lagay natin dito H3 and then tag, tag pala. Sorry. So I'll just use and copy this. Um, oh, here pala. Sorry. So I'll use this copy, and then I'll paste it here. And then for p tag, I'll also going to copy this design, and then paste it on our styling. Okay, so let's save it. Let's see if may error siya. So wala naman. So now we're going to look at the HTML index 1. So tayo doon. So let's go to the browser, then let's refresh it. Oops. Index 1. Okay, sorry. Let me just run it anyway. Okay. So this is for index 2. Now we're going to try the index 1. Ayan. So this is our index 1. So ang problema lang dito na hindi ko pala napakita na okay, so tanggalin muna natin yung codes ng index 1 dito. So gamitin natin yung comment, 'di ba, na pag-aralan natin yung comment. So I wanted to somehow delete this using, or not delete but hide the code for each day. So yeah, so let's save it. And then let's try to go back to the result, and then we'll just going to yun. So binura natin yung code doon sa ating HTML that is responsible with the color change and font changes, but we still be able to see the same result. That is because gumagamit na tayo ng external CSS. At pag natawag natin yung styling na yun doon sa CSS na pinaglagyan mo, i-recognize niya at i-display niya as is. Ayan. I hope you're getting something from um, this lecture. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so here you will see the implementation of the inline CSS. So I gave here a screenshot of what I did um, uh, on files for inline.html. So here, as you can see, I have something written here, and then I put some styling using inline style or inline CSS. So what I did here is I changed the background of the the background of background color of the H1, and then put a color red. And then the other element here is we have the p tag, or the paragraph tag. So we change the color of the p tag with the pink, and then the text align center, and the color of the background color of the p paragraph tag is gray. So yeah, so basically that's what we have for this implementation. Okay, so this is another implementation. We have used the implementation with internal CSS. So ganun pa din. So we used background color, black color, red, and for H1 and P is same. So nilipat ko lang lahat ng codes doon sa taas, sa loob ng style tag. And then the third one is we use the external CSS, like what I've shown to you. So here we have the code for our CSS, and then here, as I shown kanina, this is how you basically um you basically link your CSS document. Okay, so let's talk about the CSS selectors. So the selector is used to target elements and apply CSS. So there are three simple selector elements, and they are the element selector, the ID selector, and class selector. So if we're going to talk about the priority of selector, we can see here that ID is um, the priority. Next to that is class, and then the elements. So let's talk about first what is element. So when we talk about elements, so these are the HTML elements. So lahat ng HTML element that you can see, whether it's paragraph, an ordered list, whether it's headings 1 to 6, pwede ding button or input type, and so on and so forth. So madami. So anything that is HTML element can be used as a selector or under element selector. Okay, so here in this example, I have used h1 as element. So we know that h1 is an element, and the property that we are going to change here is the color, which I already shown kanina. So we selected the heading tag and then changed the color property text to color red. So so whatever is written in this tag o kung ano yung content niya sa loob ng H1. So lahat ng H1 will have a text color of red. Number two type is ID. So ID selectors. So the ID attributes is used to select HTML elements used to target specific or unique elements. So in this example, we have this unique ID. Yung pangalan ng ID natin is unique, and we are also changing the color red. So um how are we going to target the unique? So ang gagawin mo lang dyan is, let's say for example, you're using an H1, ID is equal to unique, and then kung ano yung may nasa loob nun, let's say for example, UEP, ayan. So lahat ng nasa loob ng H1 na may ID attribute na unique ay magkakaroon ng red color. So let me just show you an example to that. Okay, so I will make an example for element and as well as with ID selectors. So pagmiminsanin ko na siya. So let's go to our coding scene. Okay, so here I am going to create, sige, gawa lang tayo dito ng elements.html, and then yung isa pa is I'm going to use ano ba yan? id.html. So this is for selectors, element, and ID. So gagamitin kong style here is yung external CSS para mas masanay kayong gamitin yung ganun. Okay, so let's call in HTML5. Yan. And then I'll put it here. So copy ko to. Just copy that and I'll paste it here para konti na lang yung papalitan. So let's go back to element. I'll change this to element selector. Element. Right here, I'm gonna use the link one, link CSS. Then yung aking ilalagay dito is my style. Since we have an existing CSS here. So ganun din yung ilalagay ko dun sa kabila. Dito sa ID. Put here, I'll just change it to ID selector. I hope you are following. So let's have first this element. So ang ano ba yung mga kailangan kong palitan. So let's say we have H1. Then let's say hello UEP. Sabay-sabay. Okay. So and let's also put some paragraph here. Gagawa na lang ako ng siguro mga lorem 40. Ayan. So, change lang natin. Gawin natin word wrap para makita. And what else? Okay. So, let's also put some image. So, ano ba? Saan tayo kukuha ng image? So, kuha ako ng image mula sa internet. Just hold on for a bit. Kunin nyo lang yung image URL nung sa ano sa so sige, let's go to browser and then let's look for image. User image. Okay, so let's try to put that on our code. So save na. And then try ko lang i-check. I-run ko lang ito. Then tayo. Okay, so ito yung itsura niya sa ating browser. So ayan. So medyo malaki, no? So we have the REM Epsom, ganyan-ganyan. Then we have UEP, sabay-sabay. So we're going to change those. Ang papalitan natin dito mga elements is itong H1, yung image, at itong paragraph natin. So let's go to our editor. Okay, so yeah. So we'll go to my style. Go to my style. So ano ba yung ano natin doon? So I wanted to yeah, so add tayo dito. So H1. Ano ba yung gusto natin gawin sa H1? So gusto kong palitan yung font family niya into something. Let's say yeah, let's use this trebuchet. And then I wanted to have the font size siguro mga 40 px. What else? Also wanted to change the color. Yung color natin is Dodger Blue. Ayan. And then, ano pa yung meron tayo? So, image. So, yung image is gusto ko siyang i-change into yung width niya. It's nasa 200 pixels lang. Then, we could also set the border. Siguro yung border natin, lagyan natin na 1px. Tapos, solid yung border. Tapos, anong color niya? Let's say brown. Yeah. And then, ayan. So, meron na tayong styling for P. So, ayun. So, green yung nilagay natin yun. But you can also change the color. Say, we wanted to be something like this dark. So, meron siyang equivalent na RGB, 1353. So, kung gusto niyo siyang palitan, pwede naman in-adapt it. So, let me check kung anong itsura niya. Okay. So, so this is the result. Ayan. So, we have UEP. So, pinalitan natin siya into a different family of a font family. And then, we have here the photo that we've taken from the internet. So, but if you have like image from your directory, pwede rin naman yun. Gamitin nyo lang yung source, then tawagin nyo yung kanyang name. Naturo ko naman na yun, so for sure you should know what you're going to do. And here we have the lorem ipsum and so on and so forth. So this is green na. It looks like black lang. Pero if I'm going to change it, okay, so let me just change it so that you have an idea how it looks like. So, palitan ko siya, gawin ko siyang medyo lighter. Probably mga something like this color. Ayan. And then, let's check. Ayan. So, lighter na siya. Ayan. So, that's how you use the elements. Now, if we wanted to specify, use naman, if we want to use, let's say, ID, ganito naman siya. So, let's go back to the coding. Sorry. Our coding is, let's go to ID HTML. Ayan. So, gagawa tayo dito ng sige, H1. This is a lecture for ID. Then another H1. This and so then let's put lorem 50. Okay, so I'll just yeah. So we have H1 and P1. So kapag titignan natin to, ang itsura nito sa web browser ay ganito. So, okay, let me just show you. Ganito siya. So, same yung styling nung unang H1 saka yung ikalawang H1. So, ang gusto natin is i-separate yung styling nila. So, to do that is we need to use the ID. Okay, so in IDs, let's say I wanted to change this part. Then I want this ID equal to um let's say H head 1. And here naman I wanted to change this to P1. So let's say, ganun lang. P1 lang ilalagay ko, head 1. And then P1. And now we're going to go to my SQL. My style. So, ano yung pangalan nung ating ID? Okay. So, by the way, before we go there, kung mapapansin nyo dito, ang ginamit natin is the sharp or number sign. This sharp sign denotes ID. Kapag class kasi, dot yung gagamitin mo. So, okay. So, let's go back to the coding here. So, gawin natin. So, yung una na is head 1. So, head 1, gusto ko mas maliit siya dun sa in terms of the font size. Okay. Not really sure the size of that. I'll I'll just use probably mga 35px. And then the font family would be different as well. Siguro I'll use this segue. And then the font style, I mean color pala. The color would be ano ba? Salmon? Do we have salmon? Yeah, salmon. Then I'll be changing the background color to Yeah, black na lang for now. For the meantime, I'll use black. Okay. And then the other one is our paragraph. So P1. Okay. So do not forget the sharp. So sharp, I wanted, so right now, ang P paragraph natin is green. I wanted to change the color of our of our paragraph into ano ba? So palitan natin. See, let's use the RGBA format. Siguro I'd like to use medyo orangey. Yeah, this one. And and then I also wanted to use background color. Background color is probably I'll use dark gray. Yep, dark gray. And then font family is, let's find another. Let's start cursive. What else? Yeah. For the meantime, I'd like to use to have that. Okay, or we can also put borders. Border. I wanted to have 2 pixels solid, and I want the color to be maybe like hair group. So then let's put some radius. Border radius. Siguro mga 20%. Save natin. And then let's try to check that on our browser. Okay, so this is the result. So, ayun. So, ang hindi naapektuhan dito sa mga pinagpapalit-palit natin is this H1 na walang ID. So, this part is where I put the ID attributes. So, nagkaroon siya ng black na background with this color ng font. And then, we also do some changes sa ating paragraph. So, where your paragraph is nagkaroon siya ng background color na gray or dark gray. Then meron siyang salmon na color. And then we also do have this um border, tapos nagkaroon siya ng radius. So itong medyo naging um medyo pa-oval na yan, this is what you call the border radius. So that's how you use the ID. So hindi siya maapektuhan o hindi siya maapektuhan ng ibang elements. Basta nakaset lang siya kung saan siya pwedeng mapunta based on the ID attribute. So I hope you're getting the point. Okay, so yeah, so that is the ID selector. And let's talk about this time the class selector. So our class selector is uses the class attributes to select HTML, and it's used to target specific class of the element. So an example of that is to denote it is a class dun sa ating CSS file. We need dot and then group. Group, ito yung pangalan ng ating class, and then we wanted to change the name, the color of whatever it is na nasa loob nitong group to Dodger Blue. So let's say for example, we have here a paragraph, and then we have a group class equal to group, and this paragraph has a blue text color on it. So paano ganun siya gamitin sa ating class selector? Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to go to the coding scene. And here, I'm going to create another file which is called class.html. Okay, under class at the HTML, I will be copying. Just copy this part anyway. So copy ko yan. I'll just put it here just to save time. Okay. So here, I'll just, yeah, erase practically this part. So same pa din, we're going to use the my style.css. So wala namang magiging bago. So ano ba yung magiging itsura or ano ba yung magiging gagawin natin here? So I wanted to have um okay, so let me just give you a look. So if you're familiar with Twitter, ang gagawin natin ganun yung style. So parang hindi naman ganun kamukhang kamukha niya, but I'll just make it look like that. It's just one moment. So I would set up. Okay, so behind the this presentation, so I was able to create a result something like this. So the code is here. So in this file, I was able to create tweet HTML, and this is the content of tweet HTML. So there are links that was actually taken from the Google font. So I will be teaching you how um, to get fonts from the Google fonts. But for now, I'll just show you the whole um, code. Okay, yeah. So this is what we have right now. So okay, so let's try to dissect the elements here. So here, inside the body tag, I have a division which is called wrapper. So the class wrapper holds entirely this whole element. Ayan, so dito yung ending niya. And then inside this, we have the class post. This post will basically holds the entire post from the image, the account name, handle name, the tweet itself, and then there is also a paragraph that contains the date and time, which is something like that. And then we also have a class links, which is an in division element. And then we have also anchor tags or links like 30 retweets, 30 quote tweets, and 393 likes, something like that. And then below these links, we have the icons. These icons are in image. So meron tayong reply, retweet, heart, and share. So nasan yung mga pictures na to? Nandito siya sa image dito. Ayan. So in-import ko lang. Okay. And then I have another post here. So this is the second post or second record. So ganun pa rin, kinopy-paste ko lang just to show you the entire parang kumbaga this entire post. So let's say for example, okay, so let's try to check that here. So this is the outcome. So ito yung wrapper. So kung i-inspect mo yan. Okay, so if you're going to inspect this, so this is our body. So this wrapper is basically this entire um yun yung may border. And then inside this wrapper, we have the class post. Yung class post na yan, ayan, so pag hinover ko, ito yung entire class post. Yan. And then, of course, the second post, ito siya. Okay, so, yan. So, let's say, for example, magladagdag tayo. And then we'll just change some of the, whatever that's here. So, let's say, let's go back to coding. So, maghahanap tayo ng photo. Let me just try to look photo from my downloads. Excuse me. I'll try to put okay. Ito na lang. Okay, so I will be importing photo, and I'll put it here. So this is the photo. And then I'll just rename this to, yun natin, IATF. Yeah. And then, yeah, so basically that's what we're going to change. Then let's go back to tweet. And then we're going to make a copy of this. We will make it as the third copy. Paste natin dito. I'll change it to third copy. And here I'm gonna change the image to IATF PNG. And then I am going to change this to IATF official. Put here IATF underscore gov official. Something like that. So let's try. Okay, so as you can see here, so meron na tayong IATF at official. Gov o IFTF official. So yung laman nitong ating tweet ay makikita nyo yan dito sa ating tweet. So kung titignan nyo ito, so we have here the tweet. Okay, so let's say, let's put something here. Let's say, okay, so something like that. So let's try to check that. Yan. So I would like to declare that we are COVID-free in the Philippines soon. So yan, you can also change the date and time. So bahala kayo dyan kung paano nyo siya i-gagawin. So I'll just give you the code, the entire code for this particular HTML. And then next, by the time that you were able to watch this, I will explain at i-demo ko kung paano ko ginawa yung entire itong HTML na to. So that's it for now. Thank you for joining me in the class, and I hope you get something. And so I will be seeing you on our next lesson. So this is our CSS lecture tutorial, and I'll see you next time.